last episode, we talked to Leah McCullough about her miraculous recovery from fibromyalgia. Today, we continue our discussion with her strategies to ease into healing even if you can't get out of bed, and external factors that you can add to your protocol that will take your healing to the next level. Coming up next on the Nutrition Heretic podcast. So I'm sure you've heard that as you age, it gets harder to lose weight. Well, that's total bullshit because my friends Laura and Veronica Chows, they can prove it. They're a mother-daughter duo, and they've lost 125 pounds between the two of them at ages 50 and 20. And they've kept it off for over 2 years without starvation, deprivation, or hunger. So now you can learn their system and a whole lot more with a free 10-day trial to their online membership. They'll give you the diet, the recipes, classes, and more. Sign up today at nutritionheretic.com/utmost-diet.
Fat is bad for you.
I just pop a pill and I'm fine.
Meat is murder.
It's time for bad food punishment. It's time for real nourishment. It's time for the Nutrition Heretic.
The following program is provided as information only and may not be construed as medical or health advice. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. No action or inaction should be taken solely on the basis of the information provided here. Please consult with a licensed healthcare professional or doctor on any matter relating to your health and well-being.
I think what's happened, if you've read the whole soy story, Kayla Daniel talks about how when soy became popular, part of the reason it became popular is when they had to get rid of all of the sludge, right? They were making oils and all this other stuff, fuel, tank fuel, and things like that from the oil. So then they're like, we got all this crap left over. What do we do with it? And some brilliant marketing guy came up with, this is like the 60s, right? And we get all the hippies and they're trying to do right for the planet. So they started this campaign to make it seem like you were really smart if you ate this stuff. And you can still see that reflected in a lot of the products today, where they take this snobbish look, smart balance and, and, just all of these names that, make you feel like you're somehow better than anybody who isn't eating this crap that was made in a factory.
Yeah.
So when the results don't mirror what they theoretically should have going on these diets, people they can't even notice. Right. Because they're so tied to that marketing message of how much smarter and better for the environment and the animals or whatever they believe or want to believe it is. And actually, that was actually one of the things that I wanted to just mention about the probiotic that you use. It does have soy in it, and yes, it's fermented, correct?
Well, it's not like fermented; it's organic, and it's a very small amount.
Right. Okay. Because, there are people who might react to that even in the fermented form, depending on how badly they've damaged their gut. Also the agave is kind of like one of those, I've heard of some really nicely produced agave, but I think most of it is not. So, that's one thing that, people may need to, be aware of if they have sensitivities in those directions. But honestly, I don't even know if it needs the agave because I can't imagine what it would taste like without it. Well, you know what I'm saying?
The thing is, I think the agave is more of a sugar for the microbes to feed on.
Okay, so it's a prebiotic type.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's, I had a client that couldn't have the Firm Plus Pro because of ginger. She's allergic to ginger.
Ah, yeah.
And she couldn't even try it. And if you wonder if this is for you or not, if you can get a sample of it, and if you email me directly, I'll figure out a way to get you a sample of it. Put a little bit in a paste, mix a little bit of it in water, put a paste, and put it on your wrist right before you go to sleep.
Uh-huh.
Sleep with it on overnight and see if it leaves a red mark, if it bothers your skin. And that would be the way to see if it's going to agree with you or not. Just to start out, it's not, a scientific 100% guaranteed test, but it can be an indicator.
Right.
And a lot of times, if you can put something on your skin to start with, then you can lead up to ingesting it. I know that some mothers, they want to get cod liver oil in their children, and children won't eat it. So they start putting it on the children's bare feet at night. And then put socks on their feet and then start doing. And after some time, their children are actually okay with the cod liver oil.
Right. Wow. Good tips. So tell us a little bit about the external detox, because that's another thing that a lot of people don't really think about, because when you have these kinds of disorders, you're often limping along with various skin conditions and, things that you think only Avon or Clinique or whatever can cover up. What are some of the just maybe 2 or 3 key external detox areas that people can consider?
A good guideline is, if you are not going to ingest it, don't put it on your skin. I think that would be to start with.
Right.
So I got so frustrated with shampoo. I couldn't find anything that didn't have some sort of questionable ingredients. Now there's a couple on the market, but back then I couldn't find anything. So I just went to, now this is not for all hair types, okay? But for me, with my hair, what worked out really well was baking soda at the roots and rinsed out. And then I put lemon juice mixed with water on the ends and rinsed that out. And it has worked. I've been doing that for, I don't know, at least 6 or 7 years, and it's worked out really nicely for me. Now, that's not going to, your mileage may vary. And in your home, if you can't eat it, don't put it on things that your skin's going to touch. So, use vinegar and baking soda for cleaners. About the only place I use soap is in my laundry detergent. I do wash my hands with soap, and I have soap for the dishwasher, dishes and things. But other than that, we use vinegar, we use baking soda, and we, just try and keep, if you need something to smell pretty, we use essential oils instead of perfumes because they're synthetic. It used to be I couldn't walk down the laundry detergent aisle at the grocery store without getting a migraine.
Right.
And now I can, but it smells horrible to me now.
Right.
It smells like chemicals. It doesn't smell like perfume,
Exactly. And it's funny too is when you were talking about Starbucks, I went into a Starbucks like a week ago, and I hadn't been in a Starbucks in, I don't know, probably like on the, those what are those roadside stops where you're driving from New York to Florida or whatever, right? So, and my husband's like, I need a cup of coffee. I'm like, whatever. I refuse to drink Starbucks. I think it's the most disgusting coffee ever. But anyway, I walked in there and it was like a punch in the face.
Oh, wow.
The amount of sugar I could smell coming out of that place. It was horrible. Like really, really disturbing. I don't see the appeal, but I think it's more the addiction. I think first of all, I think there's some people who think that they're drinking fine European coffee when they walk into a Starbucks, and it's anything but. I lived in Europe. The coffee tastes way better in Europe than it does in that place.
We have that in common then too. We have European living time in common.
There you go. Yeah. So the whole thing about the perfume aisle as well, it is interesting too, because I still have friends who are in like the regular world, right? And they put on their perfumes and stuff, and I'm like, good God, woman, what are you thinking? It's like, like, who? If I were a guy, I wouldn't want to kiss you. Like, what are you doing to yourself?
Yeah.
What are you covering up? And so, I'm not a fan of that stuff, but I do have something I'm working on that I have been told works. You can use it at least for your dishes, and it's totally natural. And it might blow your mind when I tell you what this is. It's whey.
Oh, neat.
The lactic acid bacteria that comes off of the milk, but it has to be fermented a particular way. They say it will clean. I'm using it right now. I told you before we started that I got chickens. And I'm using this Korean natural farming method to raise the chickens. And in it, you introduce lactic acid bacteria to their food and you spray it around the pen and it digests all of the feces. And so it's totally clean smelling, except for this morning. They did something last night. I don't know. But I sprayed the lactic acid bacteria, and a few moments later, I did not smell that smell. So it got rid of the smell. And so people have been saying that they've been using this for their dishes as well. So I haven't tried it. I'm trying to figure out if I need to use it straight or if I can just use it, in a dilution, fill the sink, with water and a little bit of this. I'm not totally sure how to do it the right way yet. But I will keep you posted on that.
Well, it makes me wonder where this idea came from, because if we look at our ancestors, what did they do to clean up around? I mean, there had to have been something before soap.
Absolutely.
And it was something probably cheap, easy, and practical.
Right. Well, I mean, the premise behind it, we have several episodes of the show where we talk about microbes in the soil. And if you ever go even just like under a bush near your house or, up in the mountains and you turn over some like leaf, and you'll see there's like this leaf mold, right? This white mold. Well, that mold is the natural probiotic in the soil. And so when you grow plants, when you add that bacteria to your garden area or to your chicken coop or your pig pen, whatever, it will introduce that bacteria, which will digest anything unsavory, let's call it. And
that's a great idea.
And it will make your plants grow healthier and stronger because, whenever you pull up a weed, you'll also see that white mold on there. That's what's keeping that weed alive. So
I'm the person that loves to pay organic farmers. I don't garden too much. Although I have a huge yard. I have like a 1 acre. We have a 1 acre lot here, and we keep a compost pile mostly just to keep stuff out of the landfill.
Absolutely.
I mean, from an ecological point of view, and we don't really use the compost too much, but. The cat enjoys hunting over there.
Right. But I guess where I'm going with this is that all of those, that mold, that probiotic in the soil, that was in our food too. Yeah. That's the stuff. And so when people were eating back in the early days of humans, just like your cat might be doing right now, they were getting this mold into their system. So chances are they didn't really have too much of like a pile of shit lying around.
Well, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, she said that, in the past, every mouthful of food we ate had probiotics in it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Completely agree with her. And I got to get her on the show because she and I have so many similarities as well, in things that we say. It's just really funny when people come from totally different walks of life and they're hitting the same conclusions.
Right. Well, I had her on my telesummit last. It was in February, and we're going to have a new telesummit coming up in this February as well. Okay. And she talked about recovering from fibromyalgia, how she helps her patients recover from fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, and every time I listen to her, my mind is blown.
Yeah.
I was a biology major in college, and then I switched to business, like, you were mentioning before. And so I can just barely keep up with what she's saying sometimes. But she just blows my mind. And what's interesting about her is before she became a medical doctor, before she was trained as a medical doctor, she grew up in communist Russia.
Right.
And so where she went to school, she didn't have a choice of where she went to school. She went to a nursing school. So everybody in that village, I guess, went to nursing school. I don't think they had a choice. And then later on, she went to medical school. And what's interesting, she's a mother. So she's a mother. She was a nurse and a medical doctor. So she knows a lot of the practical side of how to do things.
Exactly.
And I just love that about her.
Yeah, she's fat. You put in a good word for me, man. I'll hook a sister up.
I'll hook you up with her.
All right. Because, yeah, she would be phenomenal to have on the show
Sure.
because there's so many things. You know, I'm coming to, you know, I first learned about her through the GAPS lens, and I sat in her speech, and I'm like, my jaw was on the ground. I'm like, oh my God, this is the first person who's corroborating everything that I've been saying all these years, you know? Then adding to it with, you know, this other, like you say, this practical experience and this medical side, you know, with more details. And I could go on, but this isn't about her. This is about you.
I'm a big fan. Yeah, I could do my whole interview about how much I love her. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So now this is an area that I'm seeing, you know, again, this is a kind of it's more than a pet peeve, but exercise. You talk about exercise, you know, like,
oh my gosh, that if anything makes my blood boil, that's
the word, blood boil.
What they say is basically what medical doctors say is you can exercise your way out of fibromyalgia, which is blatantly false.
Right.
And this sets up a kind of a blame the victim mentality, and also creates pressure in families because you go with your husband to the doctor's office. The doctor says exercise, and then you go home and you lay in bed all day, and your husband says, "Well, the doctor said if you just exercise, you'd feel better." And
then you give him the finger.
Yeah, really,
things just devolve from there. Okay.
Right. And then some of the exercises that they suggest are very counterproductive. One of them is the indoor water therapy, indoor pool exercises. The supposedly warm water. That water is not warm. I don't care what they say. And you're inhaling the chlorine.
Yeah.
It's not therapeutic at all.
Right.
It's actually toxic.
Exercise exercise and water. Okay. I'm not against either of them, clearly. However, we have in our society, because everybody's at their wit's end, nobody in a place of power wants to do anything to clean up the rest of society, meaning our food sources and just in our water, right? So, but so it's like, yeah, you got to buy all of this bottled water, right? And then you got to drink as much as you can. There's people talking about drinking gallons a day. So you're stripping your body. It's all part of the, like you say, the guilt, and it's this like war on food, and it's this war on the individual. It's blaming them like, well, you didn't exercise, so no wonder you're fat. No wonder you're tired. Right. It's going to miraculously pull together all the other BS that's going on around you that, for all intents and purposes, might be just too hard to obtain, right? It's we talked about it before, how it's hard to get your hands on good quality food unless you really know where you're shopping.
I think a lot of the problems with the health of the people in our country has to do with lack of accurate information.
Well, there's that too.
And what? Pardon me?
I said, well, there's that too.
Yeah, I think people want to be healthy, and I think people want to do the right thing. And, it's been proven over and over again in other aspects that they try. But I think that, special interests, I saw something that we are the American people being so obese and sick and things are a result of 70 years of special interest groups.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Yep. I was over at my mother-in-law's condo the other day, and there's landscaping crews there. So these guys are working really physical jobs, and they were all fat.
Yeah.
Now, so you can't say, oh, they're lazy butts, they're not, whatever. I think it's not just about exercise, and it's not just about toxins, and it's not just about the food. I think it's a combination of a lot of these things.
For sure.
And what I consider exercise, especially when someone's sick with fibromyalgia, and what a medical doctor considers exercise are way different. I count sunbathing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
I count breathing deeply, like yoga and body work and some things like that, just to get started. And a healthy body wants to move. Once you get to a certain level of health, you want to exercise, you want to move. It's fun. It's fun to live your life and do things.
Right.
And one of the things that I did when I became healthy is I started to run, and I started to do horseback riding, and I completed the Air Force half marathon about 2 years ago now. And I'm actually going to be this September. I'm dialed it back a little bit because I got my little boy, and we're going to be doing the Insane Inflatable 5K, which is basically 3 miles of an obstacle course, but it's on those inflatable things.
Oh, okay.
This is the first. He's 7, so this is the first race I've gotten him to go with me on. So.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's fabulous. That's what a lot of people just don't understand, and that goes for not only conditions like fibromyalgia, but even for obesity. Oh, they're just so lazy, those fat people. That's why they're fat. They don't move. And I was saying to Julia Ross, I'm like, I lived in New York. There's no shortage of fat people walking on the street. They're walking to get everywhere because a lot of times they just broke. They gotta walk, but they fat and they're walking with a bag of chips. So yeah, it's just, to me, it's so counterintuitive, and it's really just kind of, again, it seems like it's just an alternative to saying, I don't know what's wrong with you. Just go exercise. Exercise will magically pull together everything that's wrong with your body. And it's like, well, first, you need the tools. Your body can't run, your car can't run without fuel. Why should your body?
Well, and with fibromyalgia in particular and chronic fatigue, it actually is detrimental to exercise a lot of times.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, your adrenals are already stressed, and now you're just putting more stress on it, the mental and physical stress.
Don't, everything in your body is screaming at you to be still for a reason.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm glad we're on the same page, or else I'd have to throw you off the show. Okay.
I love being a heretic, man. That's like the best compliment I've gotten in so long. I love it.
Oh, well, that's what you are, because, that's the thing, is that heretics, we're not pointing fingers necessarily, but we're just saying what we have to say. You can take it or leave it, right? Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ was a heretic in his day, and look where he got him. But, but
well,
seriously,
Jesus is a friend of mine, and I really feel like, I've been called to do this work, right. And I feel like I've been helped and blessed in so many ways. A lot of people, when they go to do a big project, a big ambitious project, there's a lot of naysayers and people being negative, and I have not had that experience at all. People have been positive and wonderful. Doors have opened that shouldn't have been opened.
Right.
Heck, doors have appeared where there were no doors.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
This has just been a blessed and golden path I've been on with getting this information out to people. Oh,
that's fantastic. I am so happy for you. And I agree that there is a blessing within disease, particularly things like fibromyalgia, things that make you slow down, right? Because first of all, it's a wake up call. If you don't turn this around now, you're going to end up with, Hodgkin's disease or something much worse. I guarantee you, anybody who's got cancer or whatever was not reading the signs. They were. I see this all the time. People are, I'm fine, whatever, and then they have something really, really irreversible at the end.
Yeah.
And at a young end. I really feel that a lot of people they're so out of tune with their bodies. They don't know what's going on. They, I can't eat meat, but I can eat Skittles. Skittles don't bother my stomach. So I don't know. I gotta be vegan because I can't touch meat, but Funyuns with ketchup on them? Yeah, that's fine. People really have to start listening to their bodies and stop listening to their egos is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. But the thing is one of the things I describe in my book is called the feedback mechanism. A lot of people they feel so crappy all the time. They really can't differentiate between what makes them feel bad and what doesn't. And what's the nice thing about this cleanse and the healing cleanse is that it helps you start to be able to listen to your body and be able to see, okay, if I do this, I get that. There's, a cause and effect. And I found that out before I got well. I went off sugar for 30 days, and I'll tell you, I really white knuckled it. I didn't have probiotics back then or anything like that. I just did it by sheer willpower. And then at the end of 30 days, of course, I celebrated sugar, and man, the pain came back, and
Right.
but I was like, well, this is good information. This is information because I was able to actually kind of regulate my pain a lot better. My prescriptions actually worked better. And this is, before I got well, and I had an issue with gum disease, and that turned around quite a bit because of the no sugar. But
Right.
but I could tell, like, if I have a little sugar, I'm okay. If I have a little sugar pretty frequently, I'm not so okay. But at least I can tell, like, now, instead of just
Right.
feeling like crap all the time, my body gives me feedback.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people don't come out of that long enough to feel any difference. So they think, I didn't eat, wheat or whatever yesterday, and I don't feel any different. When I first got my CN, one of my test subjects, she said that she didn't have a problem with, wheat. She didn't have a problem with this. She didn't have, I just want to see, what do you have to say? So I gave her like a very strict thing to eat for like 1 week. And then on the end of the week, her husband made his, French toast that he was so well known for in their family.
Oh.
And he was like, come on, you can have just one slice, just totally like being evil, right? And she's like, no, I don't want it. I've been doing this thing and I'm losing weight and I'm feeling, and this is only after a week, right? She took a bite of it. And again, remember, she said she had no problems prior to this. She took one bite and she was okay. She got about halfway through one slice and had her husband call the ambulance to take her to the emergency room because she started having heart palpitations and sweating, and she started feeling really crazy. She's like, oh my God, I had no idea what I was dealing with all this time. And so, not that she was getting those sweats and everything all the time, but she just didn't realize the impact that those ingredients were doing to her.
Right. And people don't, and I think you're spot on with that. My clients have had very similar experiences with, like eating very clean for a while and then going back because they're in a hurry or somebody tempts them or something like that, and then having, really significant consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So before I let you go, we do have one question from a listener named Karen Benson, and she thinks that your story is incredible. And she wants to know, how do you stop the body-dropping pain, mind-numbing exhaustion, frustrating brain foggy, forgetfulness, and joy-killer depression? I would love to leave this in another realm.
Oh, well, hi, Karen, and thank you for your question. So what happened was when I healed my gut.
Whoa, that's not this show. Wait a minute.
Oops. So when I detoxified and I began the gut healing, began healing my gut. Healing your gut is a long, slow process, but you can jumpstart it, okay, with a probiotic. That, and I started feeding my body nutrient dense food. These three things combined, the depression just left. I mean, there was no anything needed to mess with that. Now I had PTSD, and I needed to do meridian tapping after my gut was healed to eliminate that. And I had anxiety, and some meditation and prayer and meridian tapping helped get rid of the anxiety. But the depression just left. I mean, it just lifted when I got well. And I got well pretty quickly. And the brain fog left. Actually, a lot of people, what they do is first they feel a little more alert, and then they feel the brain fog lifting, and then they have a little more energy. And it just spirals up from there. And, then their stomach stops hurting, and then they start, to be able to poop normally. And then, they have more energy, and it just spirals up, spirals up, spirals up. And it's usually pretty fast. Within what we say within about 6 months, you're going to know for sure if this system works for you. And we expect you to be significantly improved on your way to complete health restoration. I mean, significantly. And honestly, I wouldn't be spending my time on this if I wasn't so passionate about it, because I had a very strange reaction to all this healing. And that was, I became very angry. I was angry that I had been so sick for so long, and I'd suffered, and my husband had suffered for so long. And this information was, I thought, hidden from me. Now I don't think that it was hidden from me. I just think that, it just wasn't widely known. So I got well easily and quickly, and it wasn't complicated. And that anger has a lot of energy around it. And that energy propelled me to get the word out that fibromyalgia no longer has to be a life sentence. My short-term goal is for people to know globally that fibromyalgia is no longer incurable. It doesn't have to be a lifelong sentence. You can recover from it. It is absolutely possible to recover from fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, PTSD, morbid obesity, infertility, migraines, all of it. All of it.
Fantastic.
So that's my answer, Adrienne.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's when you're stuck in it, and then, there's not enough good information, there's not enough reliable information. Again, very often the knee-jerk response to illness is, I'm going vegan.
Oh,
right.
I didn't think of that.
No, it's true though. A lot
knee-jerk response, but yeah.
But I mean, I see this all the time. I was watching
change your food. Yeah, they say, oh, I should change my food. Yeah.
Right. So you're going to change your food. Okay, fine. I understand. But all of this crap that people are eating, the crackers and the Doritos and the chocolate bars and the, 3 glasses of wine every night and all of this stuff. And they whittle it down to, I gotta give up meat. Yeah, it's definitely the meat. Yeah. So, and then, and so what happens is they might feel better, especially if they go on a vegan diet where it's actually full of food, like not more of the, potato chips or whatever, or kashi bars. Yeah, that's the other thing is a lot of people think like, oh, it's so healthy. Look at it. It says it only has 1 gram of fat and no saturated fat.
People do the happy dance when I say eat butter.
Right. See, no, I don't know. You must be talking to a whole different group of people than me, because they're like, oh yeah, but not too much. And I'm like, you can't eat too much. You don't understand. Your brain has a mechanism that says, stop when you eat too much.
By the time people find me, they have been sick for about 10 years.
Right.
And they've tried everything.
Right.
And nothing's helped them. And, I can totally relate because I was there,
Right.
And, so if I said stand on your head, for half an hour a day, they might do that. That's how desperate. But instead, I'm saying eat butter, eat eggs.
At least you're not telling people to drink
liver.
At least you're not telling people to drink their pee, because that's one of those therapies that no, can't do. Not. Oh, I've heard there's people telling people to eat their poop. Yeah, don't even get me started, okay? Yeah, see, and then I say butter and, grass-fed beef, and they're like, oh, I can't do that. It's
too expensive.
It's too expensive. It's morally wrong, because eating your poop isn't morally wrong.
I don't think there were any traditional tribes that ate poop. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so either. Yeah. And you're not a betting woman. Okay, so
what?
I said, and you're not a betting woman.
No.
There's just something there is. Yeah, we're having like a complete breakdown in society right now, where animal foods have become so vilified that people would, take the excrement.
The done it to themselves. Like you look at dairy, it's one of the most highly allergic foods there is. they have done it to themselves.
Right.
They've, stripped down the regulations so they can basically poison cows
Right.
and poison the milk. And then they say, here, and on the other side of it, me, people like Sally Fallon, Dr. Natasha, we're like, hey, raw milk is actually what our ancestors had. This is the stuff that's good.
Right.
The cultured, dairy, this is the stuff that's okay for you. But if you comparing milk you buy in the store, and God forbid it's that organic ultra pasteurized stuff in that you don't have to refrigerate bottle, compared to raw milk from the farm from an A2 cow. They're different. One's food, one's not, people.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And there's too much focus on, good versus bad versus instead of this is what we used to eat and this is how it got changed.
Yeah.
And there's not enough people who are maybe willing or just, in many cases, they just don't know. They have no clue that things have been bastardized to the point that they have been. So you can't really necessarily blame the average consumer, but there's a lot of people who really do just get hung up on, their labels of good and bad. And that's all they want to hear is, what's the good food for me to eat and what's the bad one?
Well, and a lot of people just aren't interested. They're interested in, they have other interests, which is cool. And, a lot of people in my community say to me, you love looking this stuff up and researching it. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm a total nerd about it. I love it. I love reading scientific studies. I mean, it relaxes me at bed at night to read a scientific study. And I love doing it. So they trust my research because, I've done the nerd thing.
Right.
And, I want people to do what makes them happy. So, I'll do the research and I've found these answers out for me and my family and my friends and my community. And if you want to follow along, that's cool. And, then you go do the thing that makes you happy and maybe I'll read about what you're doing on the internet. That'd be cool too.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with that, if you don't have anything else to say, I'll close out the show.
Well, I want to offer everybody a free gift.
Yay!
It's going to be an infographic. It's in development now, but by the time this show comes on, it'll be there. And it's 5 things you can do, 5 ways right now, 5 simple ways to reduce and soothe fibromyalgia pain you can do now. And if you go to my website, The Fibro Lady, FIBRO, thefibrolady.com, and sign up for our newsletter, you can get that free download of 5 simple ways to soothe fibromyalgia pain now.
Woohoo! Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate it. And this has been Adrienne Hugh, the Nutrition Heretic, with Leah McCullough, the Fibro Lady and author of Freedom from Fibromyalgia, 7 Steps to Complete Recovery. You can find her online at thefibrolady.com and on Facebook, The Fibro Lady. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you, Adrienne. I really appreciate it. And aloha.
Aloha to you.
Bye-bye.
The Nutrition Heretic Podcast is a production of Savor the Journey, LLC. Our audio editor is Nikola Popovich. Our podcast manager is Crystal McLean, and our operations manager is Linda Hansen. I'm your host, Adrienne Hugh, the Nutrition Heretic. You can find us at nutritionheretic.com, where you can download the Nutrition Heretic's free shit list of 7 health foods to avoid like the plague. You can also listen to previous episodes at nutritionheretic.com/podcast. Be sure to like us on social media for updates. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/nutritionheretic and on Twitter at NutriHeretic. Contact us with show ideas, questions, or if you just want to be a guest. And don't forget to rate our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. Thanks.